Hello, we are Team Apple R. I am Julie Miskinis. My teammates Marcelo Malakooti and Adam Rykaczewski and I are pleased to present our mock strat simulation results and lessons learned with you today. Mock strat is a marketing strategy simulation game designed to allow students to test out theories and make real decisions risk-free. We were challenged to translate the marketing concepts we learned in our marketing strategy class during weeks 1 through 6 to our decision-making processes in the simulation. Our goal was to have the highest stock price index, or SPI, at the end of each period and at the end of the game. According to the manual, the main factors driving the stock price index are profitability, growth in revenues, market share, and the level of R&D activities. As newly recruited managers of a marketing department in the electronics division of a large corporation which makes Sonites, we were responsible for identifying and targeting consumer segments, designing new products, modifying existing products, setting pricing, hiring and distributing a commercial team, selecting the appropriate distribution channels for our products, studying our competitors and ordering market research studies to inform our decisions, ordering the ideal amount of products to be produced, and last but certainly not least, creating a marketing and positioning strategy through advertising and media. Next slide, please. We are pleased to report that Team Apple R sustained a strong second place spot throughout the majority of the simulation. We started in the 4th place position. There are 6 teams competing. We began the simulation with 2 products, Rock and Roll. These brands were geared towards the shrinking explorers and small high earners markets, but were not perfectly aligned for either. We quickly realized that we needed to modify our existing brands and R&D a new product to better align with more attractive markets. Our final SPI was 1,702 versus an initial SPI of 1,000, which was a 70% increase. Position among competitors, we were 2nd place behind Team S. We ended the simulation with 3 brands in our portfolio, Rock, Roll, and Race. Team S, our top competitor, had 5 brands at the end of the simulation. Our total revenues for period 8 were $155 million versus our initial revenue in period 0 at $41,564,000, which reflects a 78.4% growth. Our market share was 11.7%. The volume sold in period 8 was 347,000. Our earnings before taxes in period 8 were $27,616,000 versus in period 0 they were $7,081,000, which reflects a 290% increase. Total revenues for all periods were $538,607,000. I will now hand the presentation off to Adam so he can tell you more about the performance of our three brands, Rock, Roll, and Race. Next slide, please.
Thanks, Julie. As you had alluded to previously, there were 3 major brands within our portfolio, 2 of which that we started with were Rock and Roll. Rock quickly became our flagship brand, if you will, as it was more perfectly aligned with some of the categories that we targeted early on, and Roll was focused more on the Explorer segment that wasn't necessarily as perfectly aligned. In the original layout of our product portfolios and the brands and segments we focused on, Rock targeted professionals, high earners, and a slight market share within the Explorer segment. As we progressed throughout the Mark Strat simulation, we found a much greater success rate when targeting individual segments. Thus, we R&D'd Rock to target professionals specifically aligned with their ideal characteristics of products. At the end, through period 9, we had almost a $24 million contribution after marketing, which, as you can see, is a very substantial segment, about 82% of the total revenue when compared to the other 2 products in our category and brand portfolio, with 137,000 sold. The problem that we ran into towards the end of this simulation was that the professionals did become a shrinking market. As Rock was our flagship brand, we did see a slight contraction in the volume of units sold, albeit we did hold a very large market segment that we will talk about in the coming slide. Race was a product that we developed through R&D to target shoppers and savers originally, and again, as I had alluded to in the category of Rock, we found that there was a much greater benefit to targeting individual growth segments, so we actually further realigned Race through marketing and advertising to target the shopper segment specifically. After getting the brand awareness up, we managed to, in period 9, sell $4.6 million in contribution after marketing and 144,000 units, which made up about 16% of the total revenue and 42% of the total volume sold. Finally, roll was our target, or the original roll target segment for roll was the Explorer segment, at which we determined that that was a sort of a losing market as it was contracting too rapidly, and we R&D'd that particular product to focus on the Saver segment. And after doing so, we managed to get our brand awareness up to a very comparable level and managed to take a lot of the market share away from some of the other major competitors within that segment. In period 9, we had 675,000 in contribution after marketing and 66,000 units sold, contributing to about 2% of the overall revenue and 19% of the total volume. Next slide, please. Focusing on the segment performance specifically, Rock, as I had mentioned, was focused on the professional segment. With 77% brand awareness, it was very well recognized throughout that particular segment and yielded a very large 47% purchase intention. With 49% market share and 127,000 units sold, it's very easy to see that Rock dominated the professional market, with the top competitor of Soar selling about 123,000 units in the previous, or in the final period there. But prior to the final period, we were slightly below their market share, and we managed to take a little bit of that back in a successful marketing campaign. And we felt that Rock was very well positioned for this professional category, and if the simulation were to continue, we'd be able to continue to take that market share away from the top competitor. Next slide, please. With respect to roll, we managed to R&D that particular product to focus on the shopper segment specifically, as the Explorer, again, was a contracting segment. We managed to, through a couple consecutive weeks of marketing, get the brand awareness up to a comparable level at about 68%. The purchase intention, albeit was still fairly low with respect to a lot of the top competitors, was rapidly growing through the last periods again, as we had to completely realign this product to focus on this category here. And within a few short periods, we managed to gain a very strong 6% market share with 59,000 units sold to this particular segment. Some of the top competitors that we tried to emulate and begin taking away their market share was Solo, and that was a brand that was very well aligned with that particular shopper segment from the get-go. They had a very high brand awareness with high purchase intention and a very large market share early on at 58%. We managed to take a little bit of that way as we managed to market successfully and build a larger commercial team to implement a successful product, i.e. roll. The other two major competitors, Toro and More, made up about 13% and 15% market share respectively, selling 127,000 units in the Toro category and 148,000 units in the More category. Again, roll was a very new product after the R&D to this segment, and after realignment, we feel that if this simulation had to continue and go in future periods, we would continue to sell more and more of this particular product. Next slide. Our final product that we're going to talk about is Race here, and it focused primarily on the Savers category. As I had mentioned earlier, our original goal was to target both shoppers and savers, and our R&D and physical characteristics would reflect that. But after more successful marketing campaigns and launching roll to target shoppers specifically, we moved Race into the savers category and segments and individually, and saw a lot of success there as well. Race ended up with a 66% brand awareness and a 22% purchase intention, which yielded an 11% market share and 142,000 units sold in the final period. We actually managed to increase Race's production about 20% period over period for the last 3 periods in a row, which is outstanding, and a very natural and high growth rate when compared to some of the other competitors in the marketplace. Savers was a little more of a dominated category, and Soft, our top competitor, had a 79% market share, even higher prior to the launch of Race, and in their final period they sold over 1 million units, which is outstanding. But our goal with Race was to begin taking away their market share, and we saw a lot of successes in doing that after the marketing to realign Race with the Savers category. And at this point, I will pass the presentation off to Marcelo, and you can please advance the slide. That'd be great. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Adam. Discussing the core strategies of our marketing management now. This involved a targeted strategy which led with modifying our diversified portfolio's brand to specifically cater to the evolving needs of our target segments. First, with segmentation and targeting, We modified our rock brand to best target the needs of the professionals, which helped us dominate this market and provide a large source of revenue for Renegade. Even though the professionals market eventually had negative growth rate, this proved an important part of our total market share. We also introduced a new brand, Race, as mentioned, and designed to specifically target the two fastest growing markets, savers and shoppers. As we followed market changes throughout the simulation, we eventually targeted this even more focused on savers, evolving our marketing messaging based on changing market perceptions. We also target our Roll brand to shoppers, the other fastest growing market segment, which proved to be successful as we aligned this with the specific brand characteristics demanded by this growing market segment. For product, we tailored each of our brand's characteristics to our individual target segments and aligned the characteristics with their specific needs. This entailed tailoring the advertising messaging based on what each target segment valued most, and based on the competitive market environment, we did this through either multidimensional scaling or semantic scaling messaging. As for price, we adjusted this each period for each brand based on the evolved market perceptions and the competitive environment. This was done to poise each of our brands competitively in the market, while at the same time setting a price point which could communicate quality and performance, important characteristics for brand perceptions, and for our target segments. And Julie, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Marcelo. What we would change if we could. We would consider a loan earlier to fund additional R&D projects. We would develop brands to cover all market segments as well as multiple brands to attain market share of the same segment. We would create a brand dedicated to one precise market segment instead of attempting to straddle two segments. For example, Race was initially designed to appeal to both savers and shoppers, and we quickly learned that we needed to just target one market segment and to modify it to fit that specific segment. We would increase the relative number of salespeople to increase market share potential by meeting demand with distribution of a larger sales force. And we would better estimate production quantities to reduce inventory holding costs, but also to meet demand when we fell short. Next slide, please. Lessons learned from the simulation in general. MarkStrat enabled us to test out key marketing concepts in a risk-free environment and to immediately see the consequences of our actions. We were able to see how each decision made was influenced by forecasting evolving customer ideals and reacting to competitor decisions. For segmentation and targeting, we learned quickly that selecting which audience to target long-term is crucial to success. Targeting one audience and creating a product and marketing message specifically for them is more effective than trying to straddle two segments and offer a product that isn't ideal for either. For products, creating a diversified portfolio of brands across several audience segments was more effective than having only two products available in the beginning. Estimating how many units to produce was difficult due to estimating market growth or demand and the fear of high inventory holding costs. Pricing decisions were difficult to make as they were influenced by competitor pricing, base costs, distribution margins, target audience price sensitivity, and ideal values. Next slide, please. In our distribution channel strategy, we had to understand where our target audience is shopped, and that was critical in deciding how to staff and distribute our sales force for each brand. For advertising and promotion, we learned that investing heavily in market research and media was crucial to our success, as the brand awareness not only educated customers about our products, but it swayed distribution channels to carry more of them. And utilizing multidimensional scaling allowed us to influence how our target audiences perceived our products as more aligned with their target ideals. In conclusion, we had fun while watching how the marketing theories we studied in the course came to life in the simulation. Thank you.